Call to order the May 9th, 2022 East Ascension Drainage Board of Commissioners meeting. All commissioners are here except for Chairman Malasaw, Dempsey Lambert, and Corey Ogeron. Mr. Robert, will you lead us in the prayer and the pledge?
God, thank you for bringing us all here tonight to the parish's business. Help us work together. Help us work with those around us, neighboring cities involved. Help us get things done for the better of the people. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if anybody would like to speak, please fill out a red or green card. You'll get your allotted 3 minutes. Maybe there's even a white card nowadays. I don't know. Item number 4, acceptance of minutes. Approval of the March 7, 2022 minutes. Motion. Got a motion by Councilman Wagstack, a second by Councilman Mason. Any objections? None? So moved. Chairman's report. Item number 5. I don't have anything to add because I became chairman about an hour ago. Item 6A, New River Channel Improvements Project Update. Davis Cole.
Good evening. I'm Davis Cole, H. Davis Cole and Associates. We're the engineers for the New River Drainage Improvements Project. I'm happy to report we are well underway. The contractor Boone Services has removed approximately 1,026 cubic yards of material and placed about 540 cubic yards of embankment to create the proper slopes in the canal. After a few hiccups in the beginning with some overtopping of the earthen dams that they had constructed to put the, to take a section, dewater a section. It's huge, somewhere between 500 and 1,500 feet. They deployed aqua dams, which have been working wonderfully. Those things are designed to for the water to overflow them in the event of a large rain event, so they don't require a lot of maintenance or hands-on activity with the contractor, and allows water to flow through if necessary. And it also allows them to dewater after a rain event pretty quickly. The biggest development was last week. They mobilized an amphibious track hoe, and we've seen a dramatic uptick in the removal process. So we had a progress meeting last, it was on May 4th. We expressed the need to catch up on the schedule. They are a little behind on the schedule. We do have plenty of time for them to catch up. We discussed adding more trucks, just increasing the production rate, which seems to have been going well this week thus far. So Bradley Armand with Boone's here. If you have any questions for him on the specifics of the construction, or I can answer any general questions about the project.
Councilman Cagliati.
Yeah, just thank you, Davis. Appreciate it. No problem. I've gone out and looked at it, and that new amphibious equipment is going to really make a difference. But an issue you mentioned about a shortage of trucks. Are they working on trying to get more lined up? And the other question, part of that question, is the spoils. Where are they going? I know they can't send them just anywhere. They have to have an approved site. It has to be approved in there.
Right. Today, after we met with Boone last week, we did discuss the addition of trucks. I'll let him speak to what their plan is with that. Okay. The spoils, I believe, are going to a piece of property owned by the owner of Boone Services that's in Iberville Parish at the moment. They do have several other sites that are a little closer that I believe they're going to be utilizing. And he'll be able to tell you a little more about those, kind of as needed.
That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Any further questions? Mr. Cole, great presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. Moving on, the next item is 6B, update on Laurel Ridge Levee right-of-way acquisition. Ms. Jane Dufour.
I'm Jane Dufour with Civics. We're working on behalf of the Pontchartrain Levee District on right-of-way acquisitions for Laurel Ridge Levee Extension, and I wanted to provide an update to you all on our progress. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. We have 30 ownerships total for the Levee Extension project. Of those, that includes about 140 owners total. So a number of different owners for these parcels, and 125 offers have gone out at this point. So the just compensation interest has been sent to interest owners for 22 of those 30 parcels, so 125 offers for 22 of the ownerships that exist of the 30. We've closed with 16 owners total. That's 4 of the 30 ownerships, which includes multiple parcels, but we're about 95% complete for closing with an additional 8 ownerships. 17 owners have accepted their offers, so we're working on final, curative work in order to close with these owners. At this point, right-of-way acquisition activities are approximately 70% complete. When we met with the parish a couple months back, we were about 40% complete. After the Pontchartrain Levee District Board meets on Monday, the following Monday, we'll be sending the last 8 offers out. So we'll have either closed with, be in the process of negotiating, or have just gotten offers out for all of the 30 ownerships. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't believe we have any questions. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, item C. Oh, Mr. President.
So, if I could interject, yeah. And also, I wanted H. Davis Cole to come back up so that he could give a presentation on the Walmart Weir, where he is with that, so he doesn't have to come back next month or the month after.
I like having him here. Let's make him come back.
So I did want to ask, so if we're 70% complete, what is the general time frame do we believe we'll get the additional 30? And in addition to that, do we require 100% before we can start in any part of the project?
So in response to the question regarding the time frame, we have all offers out, but for some of those offers, it's just one appraisal that's been obtained. So if the owners object and aren't willing to transfer the property, we would have to get a second appraisal. So we're still kind of in flux with the time frame. We'll have a better idea of where we are with negotiations, I'd say in the next month or so. But I will say offers started going out at the existing levee, and acquisitions for those first few parcels have been completed. So there is a path for Pontchartrain Levee District to grant a right of entry to the parish to go do some additional clearing and grubbing for the adjacent parcels moving north.
Okay. So, Chair would like to suggest that we have them come back in 2 months, give us another update, so we can kind of keep track of where we are and when we can really get this project kicked off. That'd be okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Chair.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion to add the Walmart Weir, an update on the Walmart Weir as item 6BA. We've got a motion by Councilman Mason, a second by Councilman Cagliati. We'll need a unanimous vote. Do you have a question?
No, that's what I was.
Okay, yeah, we need to take a vote on this. It has, yeah. Okay, we'll close voting. And it's unanimous? No? Travis? I saw him pressing it. Let's try this again. Okay, now we'll close voting again. That work? Travis used his magic finger this time. Okay, Davis, go ahead. It's an update on the Walmart Weir.
Yep, Davis Cole, Davis Cole and Associates. The Walmart Weir, we're at a 90% design point at this juncture. We've submitted a permit modification to the Corps of Engineers because it's a little different than the gate structures that were permitted previously. Mercifully, we've been told that we don't have to go out for public notice, and we're expecting to have the permit modification hopefully in the next couple of weeks. At that point in time, we'll be ready to, we do have some design preferences and issues to go over with the owner. I'm trying to get a meeting with Ron and his bunch next week to finalize the plans, and hopefully we'll be, out for advertisement sometime in June, late June, somewhere in there.
Any questions? Councilman Cagnalotti.
Just quickly, so the plan is to when they'll have it built, ready to install by the time we get to the Weir?
Right, there's going to be some timing situation because the Boone did start upstream and is working down. The new structure will be downstream of the existing weir. So there is, I would say there's a good possibility that we could have two contractors working in that area for a small period of time.
Okay.
There, but so I think it just requires some coordination on the part of the parish and whatever contractor we wind up with to make it happen. But I think we can have some overlap.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Thank you, Chair. So, so just to clarify for the public, we don't need Boone to finish before we can start this project?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. Are we going to require any additional right-of-way around site, and if so?
That's something Ron and I discussed last week. I believe we're going to get with the parish attorney's office just to make sure that we're good. We're really not taking up that much room, so hopefully it's within the existing right-of-way, but without confirming with land records.
And just for the board to understand, this is going to go at the exact location of the existing weir, or will it be
just downstream?
Just downstream.
Yes, that way the contract will be able to use the existing weir as part of their cofferdam system and help with some of the, defray some of the costs of dewatering that portion of the channel.
Correct. So you don't happen to have any drawings with you?
Not with me, no,
Okay.
but I can send some.
If I could make a suggestion to email them to the board so
Sure.
they can kind of look at the preliminary design since we're so close, and that way we can get their comments before I get to that 100%.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
No
Appreciate it, Chair.
All right.
That's all.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you, appreciate
You're
it.
free to go.
All right, thank you.
Moving on to item 6C, HNTB floodplain management update. John Munson, thank you very much.
All right. Good evening. I'm going to give you an update on the Ascension floodplain management plan this evening, and I'll show you some animations that we've come up with on the for the 4 different basins. Currently, we are 14 months into an 18-month duration. I'll discuss all of the 6 tasks, mainly the task 6 this afternoon. This is our Gantt chart where we are in the middle of April, early May. If you look at some of the proposed modeling, benefit cost analysis and risk reduction report, we're a little bit behind schedule, although we put this presentation about 2 weeks ago, so we're playing catch up. We put some additional resources on it. I don't think we're going to have any problems meeting that deadline. The 60% submittal on the floodplain management plan, we also put some additional resources on that. We are scheduled to turn in the 60% set of plans on the 25th of this month. That's what we're targeting. Now, I know most of you have not seen the 30%. The 30% was kind of raw, so if any of you want to see the 60%, we could submit that via flash drive because it's pretty lengthy. And I'll cover some of that later in the presentation. The flood hazard assessment, all of these tasks have been completed. The preliminary Bayou Manchac, Bayou Conway, and Henderson Bayou models have been submitted. Waiting on CSRS to turn in the Marvin Bro system model, which is at about 90%. These are some of the simulations that I'm going to show you just in advance. These are going to show you a 6-inch rainfall event over a 24-hour period, with just about a 5% return interval, which is what you would see on a typical basis. We broke it down. This is going to be from Bayou Manchac in 3 different areas. And so the simulation will actually run, so I had to bring my laptop because it won't play outside of it. You'll see the rainfall coming in, and you can see some of the creeks and some of the bayous filling up. You see a lot of, you see some street flooding, but for the most part, a 6-inch rainfall event over 24 hours is not that bad. Simulation number 2, again, in the Bayou Manchac Basin, you'll see some of the lower areas coming up, the bayous will swell up, and that's what 6 inches over 24 hours looks like. Simulation 3, this is in and around the Bluff Road area. And you can see it drains a little bit, and then Manchac starts to fill up a little bit. And if any of you have any questions at any particular point in time, while I'm on your area, just let me know, and I'll try to answer as best I can. The next simulations we ran are in Henderson Bayou Basin. Well, again, three areas that we've highlighted. Number 1, in the upper area. Area 2. And there we go. Area 3, kind of like right in the middle of it. Okay. Then moving on to Bayou Conway and Panama Canal. There's only two areas here because those are the most popular areas in this basin. So we'll go with number 1. Okay. Then area number 2 by the river. Okay. So those are the ones that we have right now. If any of you would like to see your areas in more detail with different events, give me a call. Love to meet with you one-on-one and show you more detail. Currently, we are still identifying risk mitigation solutions in all 4 basins. We have begun to model proposed scenarios in Bayou Manchac and Henderson Bayou. So one thing of note, what you've seen today, that is existing conditions without any improvements. So in a couple of months, when we have some of the improvements plugged into the model, you'll be able to see it side by side, what I showed you tonight, and some of the scenarios with the improvements. So you'll be able to see how the improvements are helping. In Conway and Marvin Bro, we're continuing to develop risk mitigation and move it into proposed scenario modeling. The 30% report status was submitted back in January. It had all of these appendices you see here. We're working through the comments and edits that we needed to make. As I mentioned earlier, we aim to give you a 60% floodplain management report on the 25th of May. And that concludes my presentation. I'll answer any questions if anyone has any questions.
Any questions?
All right.
Mr. President.
Oh, yes, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to note for the board, so what you saw as 6 inches over 24 hours is commonly not what we've had issue with. Once the modeling is complete, we'll then be able to run different scenarios. So one of our biggest issues is flash flooding. So we'll be able to shrink that time frame down and look at 6 inches in 4 hours, things of that nature. Also, we'll be able to run scenarios of particular projects, whether it's a detention pond or to help with flash flooding in an area. And then so that's where we get the critical brainstorming of what these projects, when we get to them, put into the model, what effect they will have. So we better look side by side on what the effect is without the project and what the effect is with the project. Therefore, we can look at the differences. I think a big thing to note from what you saw today was it really identified areas that we could use flash flood detention in regional ponds as you looked at the pooling. So vacant land that pools a lot, certainly we want to note that when planning processes, when a subdivision is noted to be in one of these areas, what happens to that water once that subdivision or topography changes in that area. So a lot more scenarios to run, including what levels may, for example, Manchac, what levels would the rain event be at? What would that 6-inch over 24 hours be if the water was already at 6 foot? You know, and so that we know that those criteria to warn residents, we're in a critical phase here. If we get this type of rain that's coming, we need to take action immediately, probably even before the storm hits, whether it's sandbags or other operations to get to those sites. So I just wanted to note there's a lot of different scenarios that we're going to get to in the later part of this. Thank you, Chair.
That's correct.
Councilman Wagasback.
Yeah, I just had a question about, so a 6-inch in 24 hours, what year rain event does that correspond to?
It's about a 5.
That's a 5?
5, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, I think it'd be helpful as we move forward, since we're doing ordinances that have, 50 year, 100 year, to maybe correspond that, for the public, to kind of correspond that back to the ordinance, what we're looking at.
And that's also what you saw is based on our normal starting water elevation.
Right.
In some areas, you can lower the water elevations by pumping it out ahead of time, so we'll be able to run those scenarios as well.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. President.
Councilman Wagasback, I just wanted to note the 6-inch was preferable. If you remember the information that Councilman Malonson got from Jay Grimes, when we looked at all those charts, all those were 6-inch rains. So these models kind of represent all of his data. I had to actually go back and look at it. It had been so much time. But all of those were 6-inch events. And you can see how many have been increasing as we've gotten closer in the last 10 years. And so it was really prevalent that we had that 6-inch look. But we'll be able to run individual storm events in certain areas, and I think that's going to give us a better idea of getting closer to that 50-year, because a 50-year doesn't have to be over 24 hours. It can be within 3 or 4 hours of a flash flood event for that to occur. So we'll run those scenarios, but I did want to mention it matched Mr. Malonson, Councilman Malonson's data that he got from Jay Grimes on the 6-inch scenarios.
Okay, do we have any further questions? None? Thank you very much, John. Another good presentation. Moving on to 6D, Monthly Drainage Report. Jade Robin.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Council. I bring y'all the March and April drainage report. Thank y'all for being back. I hope y'all enjoyed your Easter vacation and time we had off. So I'm going to try to keep this short. It's kind of long. It's 30-something slides, but we got a few photos of the work we're doing. Going into hurricane season, really pay attention to this ditch work. So I got y'all some nice pictures of the work that we're doing to try to relieve some of these water issues that we have and get this stuff draining. Just go through a couple of them. Some off-road ditches. This here's some new culverts that was applied for that we put in for parish residents. Culvert cleanup, some blowout work. We've been doing this across the parish a lot. We really concentrate on this before these storms, and we watch this weather coming in and try to have our guys investigate in these areas where we need to really put these crews out ahead of a storm to keep that water flowing. And you'll ask why litter pickup in a drainage report. Well, because we clog these culverts with this litter and these leaves. This is something that's active nature, also negligence on behalf of litterers. But it is a must that drainage plays a little part in this. Some sinkhole repair. This is some that fell on the parish, even though it appears that it may belong to another entity. But we did take care of it for the resident, so I wanted to post that and show and thank our sinkhole guys for taking care of that, because it took a while to get us to it. Before I get into this report, most of y'all know that we're in a new work order system. So you'll see a report out of MGO, and you'll also see another out of Munis. So keep in mind that we're going to probably report out of 2 systems for a few months. We've been working diligently with IT, and I thank Mr. Jerry is here for the hard work of putting this together and trying to keep this all flowing together. So like I said, you will see it out of 2 work order systems. This is just your average breakdown that I show y'all. I did pull it for 2 months. So it is your March and April report, but this is the old work order system. 112 work orders were complete by DPW in this system. So this is Munis. This gives you a little taste of what we see on our dashboard, and we want to reach out to Mr. Brian Martinez and thank him for setting this stuff up. This we can change from, we have probably 5 or 6 different reports we can toggle out throughout the day to see what kind of activities our staff is performing. This is one that's for y'all and us in management of completed work. We did start this work order system in early April, so you won't see a lot in it. But this gives you a little taste. We have done some work in it. You can see we've completed 39 projects in that new system. So the idea is to go back to the end of your cycle in your old system and pick something up that might have been sitting for a year or so and do that job, and the next job would be to come to the new work order system and pick a new job, to try to bring those together until we're able to phase out that old work order system. This here is a little map I thought was really neat for y'all to see in that new work order system. What you just saw in graph is what you're seeing on the map. It gives you an idea of what area we was in when we completed those work orders. So you'll notice the numbers are multiple work orders in a single area, and you'll notice the blue teardrop is a single work order. So it allows us to go back and see where our hot spots are, identify why we have 6 or 7 work orders in one area, and then further our investigation into what type of work orders they are. Are there services that we need more often in that area, or problems that we're having in that area we need to investigate on maintenance? Major drainage projects. This is what was completed in March and April. Is Henderson Bayou at 933. A lot of y'all saw we had the 2 bridges we cleaned out, or canals through there. Belle Savon, Jim Bayou dredging from Bluff Road, Cemetery Road. I know y'all saw pictures of the nice culvert crossing. We dredged from Cemetery Road to Wallace Acres lateral. That is now complete. The Wallace Acres outfall, actually that's what I just said, the box culvert placement, and Vendez Road behind Cabela's. So that's that ditch was completed to Bayou Bowl, and also shredding at that interstate ramp.
Jed, if I could stop you for a moment, Councilman Wagensback has a question.
Yeah, it kind of pertains to the last one. Oh.
I was trying to jump in, I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, so just a quick question. So obviously y'all don't just do work orders, y'all do projects, would there be a way to do a breakdown of how much time is spent each month? And I know this is nothing that would be done next month, but just to think ahead, to let the public know how much time we spend on work orders, how much time we spend on different projects, how much time we spend on maybe when HNTB comes into play, those kind of projects. Would there be a way to present that breakdown maybe once a quarter where we spend our time, just to kind of give the public an idea of where we're spending our time?
I would certainly think the report could be created. We do this by activity, so we should be able to break the activity down. It's something we may have to lean on Jarius and Brian maybe for pulling reports. But we do, if you go back and pull a report, we do enter the equipment we used, the time we was on the equipment, the personnel, and the time that personnel spent on that job. And we're really trying to train our staff right now. Look, this is a great conversation piece because we're on it right now. FEMA, for instance. FEMA demands all this information. So this is one of the things that we really worked with IT with in the drainage department, developing a new work order system to where we're consistently documenting FEMA regulations on a daily basis. We want this to become muscle memory for our staff. That way, when we do transition into an emergency or something, these guys aren't scrambling because they're in a hurry to go fix something or get these people out of danger. They're doing something that comes natural to them on a very important piece, getting our money back, putting our money back in our community. So yes, we are working on that. It is to come. And I wanna say we had a call on Thursday. Our new work order system is gonna have the FEMA module once we, there's another piece IT has to add to it, but will allow us to get into that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Go ahead, Jed.
So drainage projects in process, major drainage. Lower Goodine lateral, that's I-10 to the Goodine at New River. Vincent Tripp ditch, we're dredging it and sweeping it clean. Joe Severio to Bang Ficklin. Fish and Frog Bayou. And look, I want to tell y'all, Miss Terry, Frog Bayou, can't say enough about those crews. If you'd have seen, I don't have but a couple pics, but if you've seen what has been done out there, phenomenal. These guys ought to be very proud of these crews. We went in there and swept that place, Ron, 2 weeks? 2 weeks. Our crews were just fantastic. I didn't see it before. I didn't get to go out there before, but the pics, Ron, our president, has hiked it several times. It is very amazing. So I think with this project that we're doing with those gates out there and getting that water out in time of need, this is going to be just a huge project that comes together. So everything that y'all put together for it and this cleanup, it's going to make a huge improvement.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jade, very much. Mr. President, thank you and Ron for the work that was done in the last couple of weeks.
So I want to touch a little Lower Goodine. This is at Chester Diaz Road at the crossing. You can see here at the cattle gate, give you an idea of how much we're sweeping out of it. You can see the difference it's going to make. This is after sweeping that first sweep, coming back with that long reach and pulling a rake on it. And it's a huge difference. We sent trucks out there, blew underneath the culverts, and everything from the interstate to that culvert now, all of that is out. It's dry. All you have is muck in the bottom. So this is going to be very huge for that end of town. Here again, you've seen some of this is a Cemetery Road, Wallace Acres lateral, some of the finished product here. Vincent Tripp Ditch. We started back at Severio Canal, and now we're just at AC Road. So we're right at 50% complete with the Vincent Tripp Ditch. Give you an idea where that we'll be in there a little while longer. And upcoming drainage projects. Now these are projected, none of them set in stone. Some we're looking at permits, some of them we only have permits to do part of it. We're identifying their needs right now and getting ready for these projects. So we have the upper and lower Goodine laterals. You have several of them. So that's part of that project we're on right now. Babin Canal, we have a small part of a permit for that. We're looking to see if we actually can get equipment in there. What can we do to help that canal right now? St. Landry to Conway Bayou, Smith Bayou from the interstate to Ashland, Stevenson Lateral from Aikens to Daigle, Marty Burat from Merritt Evans to Parker Place, Joe Boy Road, boxes for bridge. Actually, that project's coming. We're just waiting on the boxes. David Drive, double 36-inch culverts. I wanted to end it touching on Waterway tree removal. I know there's concerns with hurricane season coming up. Everybody's worried about flooding. We've worked very, very hard on this since this happened. So there again, we have two different work order systems. This is what we have. We're running Waterway tree removal, two things. We have a parish crews working, and we also have contracted crews. So this is your parish crews here, which would be your work orders that are put in by our constituents. These are items that we don't see. Some of these major canals are behind homes where we don't see them. They're not like driving through Gonzales where you see all of New River. So we rely on these people to put these work orders in to tell us that tree is there. It's just not even possible for us to get to all of it. So doing that, you can see that we've got a total of 80 work orders. At this time, and that's as of today, we've had hundreds of work orders. I've reported that months ago. So you're looking at about 11 of them complete out of this 80. Right now in progress is 17, so it gives you an idea how we're moving forward with this. Some of these are just one tree, two trees. The ones you see on hold, maybe 8 or 10 trees. We're looking at whether or not we want to put the contractor in there when they get off of a bigger job, or if we want to put our crews in there. Or maybe putting minor drainage on a one tree and putting our major drainage on a much larger job. But that'll give you an idea how we're working that with the work order system. But I do want to reiterate, it's very important to get a work order in. I get calls daily about a tree. Put a work order in because we may not know about it. We may not be in that ditch looking. So these residents do need to put a work order in. This here, Jarrett with All South was gracious enough to work with me and help. Everything in green is what, between the parish and the contractors, have cleared of imminent threat to the parish. Contractors have been in right at 100 miles of waterway. Parish has been in the rest. So you can see that our parish is pretty clear as far as our adopted laterals, major laterals, all the way down to the Amite River. Man Shack, I want to say Man Shack has no imminent threats in it. We went in after Ida. We did everything that was down before Ida was done by Kim Spray, picked up, pulled out before contractors were brought in. Contractors were brought in, and the rest of Man Shack cleared. It is cleared at this time. They are out of Man Shack. So I was really proud of that too. That helps you a lot, Miss Terry. Not just you, but I know we get questions on that a lot. New River's open. All these major canals. So we really look and focus so that the public understands. I know we're getting late in the season, but for us, we're at the end. Many parishes right now are at the beginning. We have parishes right now just applying for FEMA to do this work. We're at the end. So very proud of our crews, proud of our council and our president for jumping on this for the start, because we're very, very blessed that we jumped on this when we did. We would not get these guys to do this work.
Some of this, I'm assuming, is recoverable through FEMA. Is that correct? And where are we on reimbursement for that?
I'd let Ron kind of speak on the reimbursement a little bit for me.
Yeah, so to get you a full-on report on that, we're going to fall back on All South. They're going to be coming to the council with a full presentation of that in the next month or so. And that will then go into the full reimbursement, all these channels, as Jade said, that they have really taken the spearhead on. They're also trying on these numbers of 5 to 10 areas that have more than 1 or 2 that may qualify for reimbursement. We're having All South also got our in-house efforts at that as well. And so we're trying to do everything we can. We're a immediate threat and we fit the thresholds to get it reimbursed. We're certainly trying to do so.
Okay. We can wait till All South comes next month or so.
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Kaza.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you. I'm amazed at the level of reporting. This is what we've been looking for a long time, so I'm very grateful for this. It has been a long time coming, no doubt. It benefits us to see what is going on. There's no way we can know where a lot of this work is happening, and it also benefits the citizens to know that the parish is doing the work that they need to do. I'm particularly pleased to see you in the Bluff Swamp, and certainly on Jim Bayou behind Belle Sabine. Thank you so much for that. I think that I don't know how much, at risk of being, repeating myself, this is the kind of reporting we've asked for a long time, and we are glad to have it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Ron.
So I did want to, Jade mentioned Bayou Man Shack. I want to make sure, and Jarrett with All South is going to give you guys this, but who knows what will happen between now and the next council meeting. So all of our major thoroughfares as far as waterways are open, and immediate threat is been eliminated. And that's like Bayou Conway in Panama all the way to Blind River. That's all gravity fed. That's open. It's cleared. There's a few little obstructions left at the very top end that they couldn't get to. We're going to get in-house. New River, Francois, Black Bayou, Bayou North Seas, Man Shack, all of those major arteries is where we have prioritized our main effort first. And that will make the most impact to the most amount of residents and put us in the position we're in going to 22 hurricane season. And so just wanted to make sure across the board we covered the whole parish as best we could on this effort going in.
Mr. President.
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank Ron and Jade for the phenomenal job they've done up to date pushing the crews. It's just important to note, Hurricane Ida was one of the worst storms that we've had wind damage in a long time. We're doing everything, and as we come into a close with our reimbursement program with our consultants, we have shifted for our crews to do reimbursement as well. But we're not going to probably be able to be reimbursed for everything because the amount of stuff down for us to get to in the next 3 to 4 months is critical going into hurricane season, certainly before August and September, the couple most active months. So we have a lot left to do, and I don't want to paint the picture that everything is done. It's not. A lot of our laterals, 3 and 4 levels, still have trees in them. We're still getting reports from residents. So we're trying to balance our time with ditch digging and other projects that have just as important in getting water away from homes. But we're trying to utilize our forces and really get into those lower level ditches and channels in order to get these trees. We have a lot of work left to do. So I don't want to paint the picture that we're free and clear here, because we're not. We got a lot to do to get back to zero where we were before Hurricane Ida. We're going to continue to hit it hard. But I do want to give a shout out to our crews. It's starting to warm up this past weekend. They're going to be out in that heat. They're going to be getting it done. And so a big shout out to them for all their hard work. But we got a good bit in front of us, and I just want to make sure that's noted. We're going to do everything we can to get back to zero as we approach hurricane season. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cazza.
Mr. President, I appreciate your candor. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is important, and I want to make a comment at this time. We have been working under a new contract with you this year, and I am highly impressed with the quality of the work that we are seeing and with the communication to this commission that you and your team are making happen. Not only are you making the work happen, but you're making the communication better. So for that, we are very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, and I do want to give a shout out again, because as y'all can tell, Brian Martinez is one of our superstar, and his new helper, Cynthia, working with Ron on a daily basis to get into what y'all requested from this maintenance and identifying every single ditch in every single district. It's going to be phenomenal when they show you the amount of detail that they've been working on with GIS. Very impressive. But want to give a huge shout out to GIS, because they've been working with Jade and Ron and Johan and everybody else to put this together. I think y'all going to be very pleased when y'all see that next level reporting and data analytics. Thank you.
Yeah, this truly is a team effort. It takes a lot of us guys to put this together for y'all, for the parish, but they deserve it. So Frog Bayou, just wanted to give you a little idea of the timeline. Went back and I told y'all these guys were in here for only about 2 weeks. You can see here on that timeline to give you an idea. As of today, they are finished in Frog Bayou with that stage of it. We will be coming behind and doing some shredding work, but as far as the tree removal or debris, that is done, and we've started evaluating and moving to fish as of today. This is a little bit of what it looked like. You can see what kind of work they had to do. This is just one little piece. I couldn't post all the pictures, but they all look like this. It was a huge benefit to have that type of piece of equipment in there, and they did a phenomenal job. That's what it looked like after. So you can see the benefit we're going to get. Only imagine how much of it. Little Bull Bayou action here. Some of the hand labor, some of the Lifehouse crew, our boat crew. This is some of the tough work they have to do when we can't get that large equipment in. But hats off to them guys for getting out there and doing that. And that's what it looks like after. So we certainly open them up. Some Philippi lateral debris, a little bit in Lake Lower, Henderson Bayou, and that concludes today.
Any questions? Nope, thank you, Jade.
Thank y'all.
Moving on to the next item, the, what is it, 6E, monthly vegetation report. Let's talk about plants. And killing plants.
So Chairman, my role is to create competition, so he's got to follow up Jade.
You could win with brevity, I'm just saying.
Afternoon, everyone. Yeah, Jade definitely upshowed me this go around. Got the slideshow going? Huh? Yes. Should. No. Take me a few minutes to get it and email it to you. Okay. You gonna be able to?
You almost won for brevity there. I'm just saying, we weren't complaining.
All right, well, I can start running for some stuff off the top of my head. Last time I was up here, it was in February. Give you the points off the top of my head. The biggest change that we've done in vegetation, like I told you, we were expanding the use of our Lifehouse contractors. We've currently gone up to, for vegetation, we are at 2 crews of 6 running also work orders, preventative maintenance, and subdivisions, and we also added another 4 into our litter crew. So we're actually making most use of those crews as of the report I ran today from the new work order system of Munis, about 33 to 34%. Trying to remember the numbers. You got it? Okay. There we go. Jade in the clutch to win. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right. Here we go. Okay, so we've been in full spraying mode since April. We are in the bread and butter of what we do right now: mowing and spraying, mowing and spraying. Our hand labor crews have, been proving themselves vital in cleaning areas that the tractors are physically can't even get to. I got a couple of picks coming up. We actually did a training in March. We had an annual chemical safety training class with Mr. Rick Bahi. Every employee that is in or around and working with pesticides, if there's a spill, how to handle it, when and when not to spray, everything from chemical safety A to Z. We went through all that. After the training session, we also calibrated all of our on and off-road sprayers. Here I have a picture of them. They were calibrating one of our off-road tractor sprayers. Part of a tip of the hat to our Lifehouse labor crew. This particular shot is Muddy Creek, where it passes through Manchac Harbor. If you can see in the left of the center where they have that bulkhead that was installed, it's physically impossible to get tractors down through there. The shot behind them, it was just as bad. Guys came through, cleaned it. The whole entire Muddy Creek now looks like that all throughout the area. Got some other pictures of them. They were working behind Seven Oaks. We had to do a cooperative permission with the railroad to clean out ditches behind the Seven Oaks subdivision. They were cleaning all the way up through there. Got our quadrants mowing and spraying. We were cleaning out another area of Muddy Creek that hasn't been maintained in a while. This one's north of Rawlings Road, just south of Henry Road. We're opening up ditches that we haven't been in a while. We've got more continued mowing and spraying. This one's off of Broad. We had one of our quadrant crews off of Old Homestead, spraying backs of subdivisions, spraying the servitudes, keeping water flowing and grass sprayed down. More of the same off-road spraying off of Carpenter Chapel Road. We mowing and spraying. Vegetation is doing what we're supposed to be doing, mowing and spraying. This was another shot. We actually had to get a Bobcat skid steer in behind this neighborhood off of Stone Road just to get a path up into behind here so the Lifehouse crew can get in there. So we've been using our Bobcat that can actually fit into some of these areas to bulldoze and get a path in there so we can clean up the ditches in there. Quick breakdown of what I was talking to before I got my PowerPoint back on. Hand cleaning and litter debris. These are all utilizing the Lifehouse labor crew with a few of our in-house team. Currently at 36% in our new Munis system and is steadily trending upwards. Just today after I wrote this presentation, I threw another 10 more in my queue towards Todd and his crew. So they're coming in at a steady pace and no signs of slowing down. It's also similar to what Jade was showing. From MGO currently right now, got a thing in the way here. We are at 68 cases completed, work orders. This report was run from beginning of February until today. We've only got a few dozen so odd left in MGO we're wrapping up. And in Eunice, we are at 43 completed, and that's been running since April. Talking a little bit about our actual contract labor. This is a snippet of what the budget is as of today, since its creation back in last August of $350,000. Today, vegetation has spent $167,000. We also, major drainage is using 4 Lifehouse guys. We spent $22,000 to date. Currently have $160,000 remaining. Since I was last here in front of y'all, we've paid out $97,000 for both vegetation and major drainage since I was here last in front of y'all. So y'all may remember a little bit of this slide. The 37% of my crew is a breakdown of where we're running all these guys. We've got 2 hand crews, 6 guys each. And we also have 4 laborers running with our existing 2 personnel in our litter crew. So we've got a lot of hands and boots on the ground making the differences where it needs to be. Also, I know Mr. Wayland also appeared in front of a council meeting not long ago. Hope y'all brought y'all's Kleenexes. But he graduated recently. Actually, I was there. I'm very proud of this man. He's the 3rd one to graduate from this program, and he recently even applied for a supervisor position in vegetation. And that's all I have. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions? None? Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. Anytime. See y'all next time.
Good deal. Okay, moving on. General business, 7A, update on drainage director position. Christelle Slaughter. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. It's good to be here again. Good to see everyone. Good to see wonderful presentations. I would have to agree. They were excellent. I am pleased to be here. Sarah, good, thank you. Right behind me. I brought one of my associates so she can explain something that I find tongue-tying, and I think she'll do a better job than I did in trying to explain it to a fellow associate today. We were last here on March 17th, and so that was about 7 weeks ago. Right after we left this meeting, we did post the position initially on Indeed, as well as other boards and possible flyers to networking groups, engineering associations, etc. We posted it on Indeed with no salary, and we got 3 applicants. So we pulled it down. We rejiggered the job description with duties and made it a little more clear and maybe not quite as overwhelming. And this time we reposted it with the salary range, and we now have a small stack of resumes. We paused the posting because we got a lot of activity sort of in the middle of April, but we did not get the kind of activity that we expected. Sarah conducted a completely different search for a different client, more in the sales and marketing area. But just to give you an example, you had 197 applicants just like that. So we are looking for a needle in a haystack at this point in time with the shortage of good talent in the market, and especially engineers, and especially highly specialized engineers. Not a problem. We're up for the task, but we just went ahead and paused the posting to try and figure out what was going on. We had particularly targeted about 5 different locations, knowing that it's harder to get someone to move to Louisiana than to find someone already in Louisiana, unless that person has family here or some sort of connection. And that has worked for us in the past, with DPW in Baton Rouge is one example. But we just wanted to see what we would get. So we chose places, for example, Houston, where we knew that they had more talent, highly qualified talent, and would be sort of in the Gulf Coast area, so it would be an easier move. We got some strange results from that. And so as we got ready to repost, Sarah actually called Indeed, why don't you come up to the microphone, and found out something that I find fascinating.
So while reviewing our posting for Indeed, we realized that it was, in our system, it was showing as the position was located in Gonzales. But when you look at the posting online, it says that it's located in Houston, Texas. So that was odd. And I tried to fix it, but technical skills are not my forte, so I ended up calling Indeed. They've told us that it is a common problem with multiple different companies, multiple different clients, and so Indeed is currently working on their end to fix it. But as of right now, they said the best workaround for us is to make sure it's very apparent that the position is in Louisiana, is in Gonzales, and so we've tried to make that as apparent as possible in the job description. And going forward, as we contact candidates, we'll be making sure that they are aware that the position is in Louisiana.
So it would be a slight glitch in the Indeed software. Can you get Brian to come fix that? We would really appreciate it. And I just can't thank Sarah enough for picking up the phone and calling, because we were starting to see things that didn't make sense. We were getting a lot of applicants from Houston, for one thing, which I thought was great at first, but not really. So we, at this moment, have 5 applicants that look pretty promising. 2 of them are PEs. One that's a PE is not one of the most promising, but those have sort of risen to the top. We have 3 or 4 people that have not told us no from networking calls. They are interested in asking for a lot more information, some of which I think we're going to have to get answers to, whether, about benefits and contracts and things like that. But they are showing interest, and I think that if we could attract 1 or 2 of those, they would probably come in as confidential candidates because they are currently employed in the area, and obviously would not want to let that become public until they were ready to leave their employer. So we are, at this point in time, having a real hard push between now and Memorial Day. And so I would be optimistic and say that we ought to be prepared in early June to get the panel together, or the process that is outlined in the management agreement, to actually review the resumes with us. By then we will have done screening interviews and background checks, perfunctory background checks, and some reference checks. So we just gotta push as hard as we can in the short run, and check out the ones that look promising, because they won't stay in the market long. So there you go. If you want to go back to school and get an engineering degree, now is the time. I had one of your engineering consulting groups say, well, good luck with that, because we can't get anybody. We're pulling people in out of retirement. And I do have to say that we did have a brainstorming session in our office about what engineers we knew who had retired. And one of the most promising ones is actually sort of an up-and-coming person. So I think you can catch people on 2 sides of their career with different pros and cons of each. But if anyone has any thoughts or ideas, we'd be more than happy to pursue them. And Councilman Cagnolati, we did try and figure out if you all were members of IPMA. I never got an extremely clear answer with that, but I don't think you are. So we may have to try and get to IPMA, maybe through the LMA or some other organization, and we'll try that. Any questions?
Well, first of all, I'll just let you know, I jotted down before you said it that we need to get our nominations in. So hopefully for that panel, because we can't have ourselves being delayed. If y'all don't recall, we have to set up a panel to select this. I think 2 people from the administration, this is off the top of my head, and 2 people from the council that go through these nominations and then bring back the recommendations to us.
Yes.
I'd hate to see us slow that down because we haven't done that. So hopefully, I think us as a committee, we need to work by the next East Ascension Drainage meeting to have some nominations for this panel, and we'll get all the paperwork together and figure out, I believe it's 2 and 2, and I'd ask the administration to do the same thing so we can be ready to roll on this.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, cool. I'm going to tell my son who's at LSU to get into engineering.
Oh, hurry up.
Councilman Cagliati.
Yeah, Christelle, thank you. I just have a question about the IBMA. Can we look into what it would take to join or become a member? Or is it strictly municipalities?
Our team looked into it for us to join, and it was a few $1,000s. So I don't know if a parish or any other type of public organization tries to join. I would imagine it's less because consultants are good at joining things like that, but it's really for the members. It's really for people who are in the field.
Not that that's necessary. If we can piggyback on a municipality, that's probably the easiest
It would be
thing
great.
we could do.
We just need to, try and get the word out, and if someone else had success with that, then we ought to try it as well.
Okay.
So we'll do that. We're on bulletin boards and, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, et cetera. So any help like that would be wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Wackersback.
Hey, Christelle.
Hey, Dale.
Have we tried, I know we say Indeed and you've looked through different things. What about like a specific headhunter? I mean, because, a lot of times in, different industries like water treatment, I know there's certain headhunters they specialize in finding those types of people. Might be worth reaching out to Harris County also.
We have done that.
You've done that, okay.
We have
okay.
done that and had interesting conversations. Everyone is very happy being there. But that's not really true because we know people have been hired away recently. So it's just a matter of getting to the right person who will do
I just
that.
meant contacting them to ask how they find people.
Oh, yes, well, yeah, and they kind of have a farm league. So, they can hire in at all levels and, work people up.
Understood.
But that actually is a good idea because if you can find someone who's specialized in the field who has a Rolodex of names of people who are upwardly mobile or whatever, that might be helpful.
Okay, thanks.
Actually, I had a question for John. What group were you talking about? What were the initials?
LMPA.
IMPA,
Oh, okay.
International Personnel Management Association. Do I have that right? Public Management Association. I've always called it IPMA. So it is one that helped another public organization find people at one point in time. We have never used them. I did not know that. I mean, we've used them for other things, research reports and things like that. But until we spoke, I didn't realize that they might have some sort of service or that sort of thing. But it is for members.
Okay, I was going to recommend the ICMA. They've helped us before. They may be able to help us without being a member.
Good. We will definitely. Do you have a
can send you
particular?
some
Can you
contact
send us some
information,
contact
yes.
information? That would be fantastic. Good.
Any further questions? No? Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much. See you all soon.
Okay, moving on to item 7B, Adapt Ascension Drainage Assistance Program Team RFP. Let's see, let me get to this. Okay, I'm trying to get back to it.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
On April 27, 2022, the Purchasing Department received 3 proposals for the ADAPT Ascension Drainage Assistance Program Team. After careful review, the non-engineering selection committee recommends accepting the proposal submitted by HNTB Corporation and to authorize the parish president to begin contract negotiations for this service.
We have a motion by Councilman Mason, a second by Councilwoman Cazzo. Any discussion? Any objections? None, so moved. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 7C, Sandbagging and Delivery Rfp.
On March 3rd, 2022, the purchasing department received 2 proposals for the sandbagging and delivery. After review, the non-engineering selection committee recommends accepting the proposal submitted by Aiden Homes LLC and to authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this service.
We have a motion by Councilman Mason, a second by Councilman Robert. Councilman Cagliati.
I just have a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, am I active now? Good. I just have a question on that. I think we received an email from parish president or from somebody from Ron, about the cost of this. Negotiate and enter. I'd rather bring that back to us for approval. If it's above the threshold, which is customarily 50,000, is that correct?
He's done it.
What do you mean? I mean, y'all can approve this, any amount.
We got the full amount of the contract, didn't it? It's like 345.
So it's 345,000?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
I guess, but what we're not doing now is approving for a certain amount. Do we want to amend and approve it for a certain amount? And we have Mr. Golson here if he wants to speak on if that amount is acceptable. Councilman Mason?
Wasn't it like 100,000 bags for 345,000?
$3.45 a bag.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that, but
That's what the proposal was,
Yes.
and that's what we're accepting, right?
well, no, but your motion was to allow them to negotiate when I think
No,
that's
I think
over.
I thought he was asking if it wasn't a negotiation.
Enter any applicable agreement. Okay, so if that's the agreement, I'd like to amend that motion.
Jay?
So what we did is we put a proposal together of what drainage and what the administration may have thought this looked like, which is 100,000 bags at the 345 proposed. So what we have is we have our C cans, and each one of y'all got this copy. This is a proposal for a standard operating procedure. This would allow us to fill our C cans up with 32,000 bags. The rest of the bags would go to Lamar Dixon for storage. Then the administration, I'm sorry? I'm sorry, excuse me, 3,200 per C can, I'm thinking total. So 3,200 per C can. And the reason we do that is because Mr. Golson's operation would deliver them on palletized and wrapped. And this is easier to distribute. So this, and you'll understand when I get a little down the line. So the residual would be stored at Lamar Dixon. This is based off of activities last year, what we kind of seen in the field. So at that time, it would allow us to bring in our residents that are senior citizens or handicapped, maybe have an event, allow them to have a maximum of 25 bags where we help load them. We kind of knock that out of the way. We give them a pamphlet, maybe a little video on how to store these bags for the year. These things are in UV bags, but it doesn't mean the sun won't break them down. So we need to teach our residents that we need to hold on to these bags all year. This gets very costly to keep sandbagging the house over and over and over for the parish. But once that is done, that leaves us with a residual of bags. We can probably fill these cans 1.5 more times. But what it does in that meantime, it allows us to take those bags from Lamar Dixon, and let's just say, I hate to bring up May again, but let's just say we have another Bluff Swamp experience where we're isolated. We bring a flatbed truck over there, we bring a forklift, we send another forklift over to that isolated area, and we truck them things in on pallets over there, and we're able to move them and get them out a little quicker to our residents, get them a little closer to those areas. So it's another service that we can offer by doing that. Mr. Golson has worked it out into his contract where he fills these containers for us. So all of this kind of comes into play. But we feel like with loose sand, the amount of parish out there to fill these bags, we can compensate with the loose sand filling bags, just like with the 100,000 bags of pre-filled. But we do need to teach our residents to hold on to these bags throughout the hurricane season so that we're not seeing them being used over and, 2 or 3 different times we're coming. But Aaron had mentioned it once, and I kind of heard him on off-site about getting these bags to a certain location, and this is kind of why we want to do it that way. It doesn't leave us just challenged to that CCAN. But in this SOP, we also take accountability of we're giving these to our parish people. We look for their driver's license, we identify them, we keep a little bank of who's using what areas, that type of stuff. There's a lot of credibility in doing it this way. But that's why we asked to do it like that.
So, Mr. Chairman, do we need to amend the motion to include the contract cost?
That's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
That way we don't have to waste time negotiating. They can get started right away. They can sign the contract and start doing it. Councilman Cazzo.
Yeah, we own sandbagging machines. What kind of utilization will we have for those at this point? What's going to happen with that?
So right now, Ms. Terry, we need to keep our vegetation crew working. We've found in the past that we lose all utilization of our vegetation crew if they're sandbags. Last year, they sandbagged 90% of your cutting season. Of course, we had rain then, and look at the flow of water we're impacting by not keeping that vegetation down.
No argument from me. I just remember buying these machines.
Part of this SOP would be whenever we enter into this time of need, those vegetation guys are going to need something to do. So we're going to fan out 8 to 16 of them to monitor these CCANs. The rest of them are going to go to sandbagging machines, and we're going to be building bags to replace also. But we will not be bagging full time.
Yeah.
It will be at time of need during an emergency.
Thank you.
Mr. President, hold on, John.
So we're going to still keep all of our equipment, and so that when we have, a major storm, the administration council with other volunteers will go, pick a barn at Lamar Dixon, and we'll sandbag extra just for our residents and reach out. I think one of the most critical components, or 2 critical components of this is cost control. In the past 2 years, we've spent a tremendous amount of money on sandbags. I think we can all agree that spending money to reduce flooding on the front end is more proactive than supplying costs for bags on the back end and telling our residents just to fear for themselves. So tried to come up with a number that we felt was adequate so that residents could get the bags, keep them all through the entire year. Like Jade said, we're going to go ahead and do some videos, some handouts on how to do that. As well as some other stuff as we other media as we get closer to hurricane season. Another big part is to make sure our residents are receiving these bags, and that's getting a little where they can come at Lamar Dixon earlier, get these bags. There's not a big rush right before the storm. Store them, have them ready. Checking those photo IDs. We found that a lot of out of parish people were taking our bags, and that's not something that our residents are paying taxes for other parishes. This is a service that not many other parishes provide. We're one of the few, especially at this level. So I think those are 2 critical components. Now the 3,200, those are open. When we open those CCANs, it'll be hard for us to man that 24/7. Those are just exposed, and they can, we'll just have to trust the people to leave them to our residents. But the ones at Lamar Dixon is where we put the bulk of our control and checking IDs and making sure those are given out. But those 2 aspects are the critical components of the agreement.
Okay.
I had one more thing, if I may.
Go ahead, Terry.
I want to also thank you for thinking about getting these things closer to people, those who need them. It is hard to haul those things. And there's no doubt in my mind that it's often more elderly folks who are trying to get these things. I watched a dear lady try to put sandbags in the back of a little bitty car that I don't know how she had any springs left by the time she got it there. I mean, not everybody who lives in Ascension Parish today, in fact, a lot of people don't have a pickup truck. They've got 2 cars. So if you don't have the proper equipment, you're in trouble. And so I'm very grateful that you all are considering getting these things closer to the people who need them. Particularly the case of my folks down in the Bluff Swamp. I mean, gosh, those folks have a long way to come out just to get to sandbags and get them back there. So having those there will be a huge help. Thank you very much.
Councilman Cagalati.
Just for clarification, Ron, this contract with Aiden, are we providing the bags, the sand, are they using our machines? Do they have their own machines?
So that's a good point. We don't touch it, and that's the big thing. Sand, bags, and labor is in this for the 100,000. And I ran some numbers earlier today just for information. Like last year, we bought 160,000 bags. And that's not all pre-bagged. That's just the total inventory of stocking bags as a whole, in addition to what we had on going into the season. So we'll save on that material and this labor by contracting this out. You brought up a great point, Ms. Terry, about the equipment. That's when we can help, is in the state of emergency, is our vegetation people aren't out there cutting grass and spraying weeds. So we will be able to help out, do some lanyard work as much as we can. But I think this is all around a different method of providing the service. It's manageable. It'll keep our guys in the ditches working and doing the work to make water flow more than the actual labor. So we're very excited about this and hope that it is supported. We get it implemented yesterday.
And
for the season.
They're providing everything. It's their equipment, or are they going to use
Yes.
our bagging machine?
No, it's all theirs. They have
Good.
the machinery, they have everything. All we do is pick up the phone and call them.
Fantastic.
And it's something off of our plate, and we go to work. And they go to work on our needs.
Good. Councilman Waxback.
Yeah, so I think it's a great idea to inform people to keep sandbags. Are we going to work on like maybe a video or something informative? Because I begged my neighbor to keep his, and he did. And that was the hardest part, was going to get them. And I've sandbagged enough. That is the hardest part of doing it. You can put it around a house if you have the hands, but to go get them and get them to the place they need to be is really the hardest.
Yeah, we had a meeting with our communication, Mr. Brandon Gatlin today. He knows that we're going to run several videos, flood insurance, what to prepare for hurricanes, but a big part of it is sandbag education. We're going to try to go find some residents who have sand boxes and how they keep them out of the sun, how they keep them dry, what they do, so we can show examples of what other residents have done in flood-prone areas to keep their bags year-round. So we're going to do a little bit of both, but yeah, heavy on the media this year. He's already working on it and ramping it up, and so we've got an assortment of videos coming out before hurricane season.
Thank you.
Okay, so where are we now? We had a motion. Now that's to negotiate. I just want to be clear because I don't want to delay this. Wait. But we don't have a cost on this. I mean, we do. Is it on the?
It's 100,000 bags at $3.45, which is $345,000.
So that's what we're approving. Just making sure. Okay.
Yes.
We have
If
a
we need to
motion.
come back and amendment, we can.
Excuse me?
If we need to come back, if
Yeah.
y'all decide, but yeah.
Okay, good. One thing that I thought was really important about this project too, and Jade hit on it, if we can identify where these sandbags are going, that'll help us put a GIS map together. Then we may be able to identify areas that, hey, a little drainage fix here is going to save us thousands of sandbags down the road. And it'll be a really neat system to see where the sandbags are being used. And some people may realize, hey, I really don't need them. My drainage is fixed. That's the ultimate goal. So, very good. Any any objections? None? So moved. Excellent. So 7D, additional right-of-way to relocate a pole that is an issue with the Darrow Sewer Project. Mr. Dawson.
Motion.
Any further discussion? Any further objection? Any objections? None? So moved. Thank you.
When did you order the contract for that pole to be moved?
Item 7E, Hartman Engineering SOW and fee proposal for drainage engineering services. Mr. Monso.
Councilman Lawler, what was the motion and second that just happened?
That was, I believe, on D, to approve the right-of-way to relocate a pole.
Who made the first and second?
Who made the first?
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilman
I made the first one.
Wagasback
Second.
and Mason. Should have said something.
Thank you.
He doesn't talk. Thank you, man. That's cool looking.
Okay, this is just a quick summary of, a couple of task orders that, that we're doing for the drainage district. And it's basically just the in-house engineering, culvert sizing and drainage engineering services. We have 2 task orders right now. One of them we filled up, and the next one we almost at the end of it. So a total of 150,000. Fee to date is 136,836. Some of the services that we provide, like number 1, culvert designs, working with Stephen Balello one-on-one, and we've adopted an internal design memorandum. All our cross drains and side drains are to be designed for a 100-year storm. Right off the bat, I think we kind of determined that's what the path that we need to go on. As of May 9th, 2022, roughly 33 culverts have been designed, sized. Here's a few pictures. This is the one on Wallace Acres lateral. By the way, I've been working with, design and construction, and the crews that the drainage department has, I mean, they're not the fastest, but the quality of work, I'll definitely tip my hat to them, and you can see in these pictures, I mean, it's very clean. The installation was excellent. So, again, I know y'all keep hearing this, but they really do a really great job. Number 2, we started meeting with the ERA, just at weekly meetings, just to kind of get caught up on current and future developments. A recent project, LA 74, El Andrew, and Adonis drainage improvements. The parish provided topo survey, and Stephen and I, we looked at everything, and we developed some drainage improvements, and currently we're in the DOTD permitting process. LA 74 Bluff Swamp Improvements Project. Currently, we are modeling the cut channel to New River to determine required drainage servitude. Bulkheads. We had one bulkhead application, and I was involved in the application review. We approved it, and I believe the project is being constructed right now, and everything meets the current bulkhead policy. Commercial and residential developments, we're tasked with reviewing drainage impact studies and construction plans for construction and or drainage issues. Something a little over and beyond what the ERA does. We kind of look a little more on the construction side. Site visits, there might be a resident, call with a specific drainage issue. So the department will call me, and I'll, whatever assistance that they need. So that's basically, the gist of what y'all are getting for these task orders. Any questions?
Councilwoman Cazza.
I just want to thank you. You've always been available to answer a phone call and help me to understand what we're trying to accomplish. So I appreciate it so much.
Again, it's not big capital improvement projects, but, these day-to-day issues, if you don't take care of them now,
they pile up.
They do.
No doubt.
Excuse me, Chair. I would like to step in and just make a comment that a lot of what you guys saw here tonight is a result of the freeing up of a lot of time, with the use of Jarrett and Jade and Johan and all these teams growing together. We're sort of all flowing things more systematic. And I really appreciate the help and guidance with Jared and everything that we're doing day to day. It's a position that we really needed. We really appreciate his help.
Let me ask what may be a stupid question. It looks like we've got approximately $13,000 left on this. Is that correct?
Correct.
On the existing
On the
task order.
existing.
Yeah.
We just didn't want to have a delay in
Yeah.
between that one expiring the budget and then this one being approved.
Okay.
We just forecasted it out that it's going to happen in the near future.
I'm just making sure, are we gonna need more than that so we don't have to keep coming back, or?
The rate we're going, I mean, it kind of depends on the demand of work that flows through, but I mean, it's a constant source of issues that we're always dealing with.
I
for
guess
sure.
it just depends on what's occurring at the time.
I mean, I think it's been covering us for about 2 months, 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, a little bit longer than that.
timeline. So, I mean, maybe the next time we come, we can look at that and kind of get an average and come back with a little bit different recommendation.
Yeah, I just think it'd be good to make sure that we, especially with hurricane season coming up, if we need emergency stuff, we don't have to come back too often. Okay. Do we need a motion or anything on this?
Yes.
That's what I thought. There we go. Got a motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilwoman Cazzo. Any further discussion? Any objections? None, so moved. Thank you very much. Okay, item 7F, we have a speaker, Mayor Chris Guidry.
I'd kind of like to hear y'all's discussion first before speaking.
Sir, can you approach the lectern?
Yeah, so I'd honestly like to hear the discussion on it first, on yours discussion on it, before I make any comments, because I really have zero understanding on the reasoning behind this or what caused this to come up. No one's contacted me to talk to me or anybody in my office about, any ordinances or changing our drainage ordinances or anything like that. So I want to know what's driving it to try to get us to follow what y'all are doing.
Well, you have an opportunity to speak. I mean, you can speak now. I mean,
it could change the entire course of what I'm coming here to say, Like, there had to have been a reason that y'all put this on the agenda. There had to have been a reason that y'all want to try to get the municipalities on the east bank of the parish to adopt your drainage standards. I'm sure this didn't just come out of thin air,
Well, no, of course, you spoke with Councilman Malonson, correct, about this?
Well, we spoke about it, like he sent this to me afterwards, but I still don't know why this is here or what is the reasoning behind it.
Well, I'd be happy to speak on it, or if Councilwoman Castro, if you'd like to start, or whomever.
So we have done an awful lot of work in the last many months to bring the parish's drainage standards in alignment with the effort to drain the parish correctly. Okay. And what we know is that when land is brought into one of the municipalities and avoids those standards, much of the drainage that we are trying to fix will not be fixed.
So did anybody dissect our drainage standards to know that they're subpar from what you have?
There's no implication in my mind that they are.
And
We
I
just
guess
wanna make sure
that
they're
would be my argument to this is because I could take my standards and point out 3, 4, 5 things where my standards are stronger than your standards. Our field restrictions for one, our culvert sizing, both of those are stronger than what you have in already. So I feel like this could have happened with a conversation instead of a mandate on us, y'all saying, look, you're going to do this to our way or we're not going to do any work in town.
Mayor Guidry, it's on here for discussion.
I know.
So that's a conversation.
But I guess the point is that we've had zero communication between whether it be the administration, the EA Drainage Board, and the town of Sorrento. And speaking to Gonzalez said they had zero communication on this also. I feel like we could have all sat at a table and had a conversation and said, hey, look, this is the path that the parish is trying to take on drainage. Let's all try to come to some type of agreement instead of putting it on the agenda and saying, hey, look, we want y'all to do what we do, or we're not going to do any work inside your municipality anymore.
Well, to be clear, Mayor, this is on here for discussion, and I like to do things out in the public instead of a meeting that's outside of the public. And I thought this was a better way to do it. That's why I asked this to be put on here, to make it a public meeting. I mean, you know why this is on here.
No, I don't. I don't. I have ideas, and that's why I asked, for y'all to have your discussion before I spoke on. I have ideas on why this happened, but the knowledge on this, I don't know. I don't deal in parish government on a daily basis, okay? I run my town. We do what's best for the town of Sorrento. So tell me, if I'm supposed to know, I want to know why this came about.
Well, certainly it's my understanding that I know you talked to Mr. Malonson about this, that a councilman indicated that he was going to have his property annexed into Sorrento to avoid the wetlands regulations that were passing. And according to another councilman, he discussed that with you. So you do know what this is about.
So that's actually false because...
Well, we don't know that.
Exactly. But if we had a conversation before we came to a meeting and we jumped to conclusions, then we would know this information. So I had a conversation with a councilman about annexing property into the town of Sorrento. I also had a conversation with the parish president after y'all had y'all's meeting about the wetlands, developing in wetlands. I had zero knowledge that y'all was even making that ordinance. Did not know it was happening, didn't know anything about it. And to be completely honest, and I'll say it, I spoke with Joe 2 years ago about possibly building a campground in the town of Sorrento. So this has been going on for 2 years. And then I read a newspaper article that says, well, we're going to bring property into the town of Sorrento to get away from development standards. So unless y'all were working on the wetlands thing for 2 years, this is nothing to do with why it's happened, and this is not the stance that the town of Sorrento took. Like we were not saying that we're going to take property in because we feel like we can get a better bang for our buck because y'all have bigger standards than ours and your wetlands mitigation. Matter of fact, we spent tens of thousands of dollars to rezone the town of Sorrento to stop things like this. So a lot of our wetlands in the town of Sorrento now are all conservation land. So it's 1 dwelling per acre. So, and then we hold it in our hand where if someone wants to come in and do something on that, now they have to come petition to us to say, hey, this is what we want to do on this piece of property. So not only do they have to mitigate, they got to explain to us why they want to get rezoned in order to be able to do a certain type of development. So there's a few more steps into getting something done inside of our municipality than it would be outside. It's not just, and I promise you, we spent 2.5 years redoing our development codes, 2.5 years, to make sure that we could protect Sorrento the best way that we could protect Sorrento. And not one person until Councilman Malonson contacted me after y'all voted on the wetlands thing did anyone ever bring it up to me. I had zero knowledge. Like I said, I got a town to run. I can't, follow every one of y'all meetings that y'all have. So that's completely false that this is why that happened. What? I'm being serious.
It's not false, but that's okay. Councilman Caglin.
How? I just want to clarify. I live in the city of Gonzales, and that is my district. And there has been communication with the city of Gonzales. I spoke to both the city engineer and the mayor, and they had no issue with this whatsoever. So there was communication in the city of Gonzales.
Before this came on the agenda?
Mm-hmm.
So why was it, if you had communication with the city of Gonzales, why aren't we having the same communication with the town?
And their response, well, that's where my district is. And I spoke to them saying, hey, this is coming up. Their response was, we don't have a problem with that because we follow the parish standards.
And so look, our development codes and our drainage codes mimic y'all's.
You know, they're actually almost identical. With the exception, I think ours is probably a little bit stronger than it is, so it wouldn't necessarily be a problem. The only, you know, the main issue is we're governed different than the parish is governed. We don't have a home rule charter. We're governed by the Larson Act, which means we have to follow state and federal laws. Okay, so we sit down, we have a planning and zoning committee that make recommendations to our council, and then the council is the party that votes on it, whether we're gonna pass an ordinance or not. So now we seriously would have to take the entire parish drainage ordinances and dissect that for the town of Sorrento. Like, we just spent tens of thousands of dollars to do this already. So that's my point on the discussion on this is you know, we're two separate governing entities inside the same parish. And it's really difficult for us to follow everything that you do, because what works for you might not work for us in this particular area. Like, we've already done this work. We already had people look at it. And there's a possibility we're gonna have to go change things when we thought we was doing what's best for the town of Sorrento. You know. So I guess what I'm getting at is we're trying to take care of ourselves without there's basically a threat on this piece of paper that if you don't do it, we're not gonna do any work in there. That's what secession means, you know? Cessation of drainage work if we don't adopt your drainage standards. That's exactly what it means. And a little bit of conversation before we got to a meeting on this would have been like huge to me, because we could have opened everything up, took all the books out and said, look, whatever anybody assumes our intentions were, look, here's the truth, here's the facts, you know? Like, even our building codes have been completely redone, revamped, and to make sure that we don't have people just come in and walk all over the town of Sorrento anymore. You know, our road standards are higher than the parish's road standards. Our road widths are higher than the parish road widths. You know, our field restrictions are tighter than yours. You know, all of these things that we are doing to make sure that we are not the one that's causing the problems. And then get, you know, in my opinion, get blindsided with something like this. It's really disturbing.
Well, I understand your feelings on that, but I know you spoke to a councilman on this, and the whole point of this
I spoke to the council member on this after this came out.
Oh, that's okay, though. I mean, that's how things work sometimes. The whole goal of this was a discussion that we could look at this stuff and work with the administration to have them work with y'all. I mean, we all have jobs up here. We all have full-time jobs.
So do I.
I know you do. But the administration doesn't. They have the ability to work with y'all, look at your standards, look at our standards, and see where we can make sure they work together. Because what we learned after the last drainage meeting, or maybe council meeting, I forget which it was, but there is at least a potential or an effort to use annexation as a way to, and not by the town, but by developers, to avoid meeting more stringent standards. And that is the goal of this, is to, hey, let's look at all of them, and from what I'm understanding, Gonzalez's standards are equal to ours. If yours are equal to ours, that's great. We may learn something from yours, but this is about having a discussion and getting together and doing that, because the last thing any of us want is to be in a situation where developers have found a loophole and are requesting annexation of their property so they don't have to meet our standards.
And I would say that in the past, that was probably the case.
Okay? And that's what we want to make sure that it doesn't happen. But we were notified, and we heard it at the last meeting, that a council member was actually trying to do that.
So I can't speak for anybody, and I can't talk for anybody's intentions, but I can tell you what the town of Sorrento's intentions are, and that's to protect our people.
And I'm sure it is, and that's what we want to make sure of as a parish as a whole, because as you know, a lot of water flows through Sorrento. What we want to make sure that it's, what we're working for as a parish is to basically, if you think of our waterways, we want to 3-lane our waterways, just like they did through part of the interstate. But you know what happens? When it gets to a bottleneck, when it's 2-laned, it backs up. And we want to make sure that we have it 3-lane through the entire parish, and that Sorrento is not a bottleneck. We want to continue to do work for drainage in Sorrento, but we also want to make sure that as long as the standards are all the same, that water's flowing through the parish, That's our ultimate goal.
So
And
this
if-
could be
and
a
if there's a
conversation that
municipality, if there's a municipality that has drainage standards that are not as efficient as ours, or we would love to look at some of yours, and if they're stronger than ours, maybe we could adopt those. And the wetlands was the big one. I don't know where y'all stand on your wetlands. If you require, I don't know if people have to save any wetlands in Sorrento, do they?
Do what?
Do people have to preserve any wetlands in Sorrento if they
Just
build?
whatever's required by the state, whatever's required by state law.
Okay, so we require people to save 40%.
Yeah, but it was 80
But state
before
law
or
doesn't
something.
require people to save any. And that's kind of our point right there, is that there's an opportunity for Sorrento to strengthen their wetlands regulations to
But
be
there-
on par with ours. And that would be a benefit. I think everybody agrees that the more wetlands you save, the better it is for drainage, and that wetlands are beneficial for drainage. They're lowlands basically by definition.
I do
So
agree
that's
with
what
that,
we're
but
looking at.
if you take in the available wetlands in the town of Sorrento, like every piece of the parish, so there's multiple different levels of wetlands, okay? Just because a piece of land is said to be wetlands, that doesn't mean that, hey, you can't never build on this land, or you have to, like, there's different mitigations for wetlands, okay? So it's kind of a blanket statement also saying that you could only do 40%. And then what if you take it and you say, all right, we have a resident that has 1,000 acres of wetlands in the town. You could only develop 40%, but then you got a resident that has 4 acres of wetlands. Well, now this person could only do 1.5 acres. You know, in our opinion, that's where we protected that was by making it conservation. So by it being conservation land, according to our ordinances, it's only 1 dwelling per acre. So at that point, you can't even, a development's not coming in to build on 1 dwelling per acre. To mitigate land, to come in and build 1 house on 1 acre of land, you know, that's where we protected ourselves at that point. So it's things like that I really felt like a conversation to find out, you know, what everybody was thinking would have went a long ways.
I understand that, but I don't know if you recall, when we were discussing the moratorium, a councilman asked that we have basically an amendment to the moratorium that would allow 1 acre developments in the parish.
No, I haven't.
Yes.
No, nothing about it.
And it's
again, because we, you know, I
Well,
can't
I understand
follow
that, but
every day.
people will develop on 1 acre wetlands.
So they most certainly will. But what I'm getting at is, if a developer is coming in to build a subdivision and truly develop land, okay, and you have to mitigate that land at the current prices, and it's just not cost effective for them. We sat down and talked to them already for the town of Sorrento. We don't have that much developable land in the town to begin with, you know, that isn't beneficial to either us or them. My whole point in all of this is the statement where it says possibility of cessation of drainage work, because who's gonna make the decision on what's strong enough, what point we stop, and then y'all change your ordinance next month. Now the town of Sorrento got to go change your ordinance, you know, and this is going to snowball for the next 40 years where we jumping on whatever your ordinance is and going here and that. Like, there's a reason why people decided Sorrento should be a municipality, and there's a reason why the Larson Act governs municipal entities, because we aren't governed by parish government. You know, we're governed by the state and federal laws. And it is, that's the thing that, you know, is basically, I have a problem with a threat on, it's sort of like a threat, you know, cessation of drainage work. Like you telling me that that wetlands protect people, that wetlands is good for drainage, but you're telling me you're going to stop doing drainage work in my town if we don't abide by your standards. Like, to me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, what I would hope you would get out of this is maybe you and the administration could talk, and you could get with our planning and zoning.
Administration been having fantastic.
Please let me finish. If you could get with our planning and zoning commission and look at your regulations, you look at our regulations and see where they mend together very well, and there may be situations where they clearly don't. It costs money to do drainage. As you know, we don't have an unlimited amount of money. And if there's a municipality where we're having to do excessive drainage because their standards aren't what they possibly could be, then that's not a wise use of our money. What I'm asking is that we look at all of those standards, and we look at the city of Gonzales also, and we make sure that we're in a situation where all of our standards are pretty much on par, and hopefully they're equal. Now, we're not talking about base flood elevation, because that's a little different. That doesn't really cause people to flood per se, just regulates how high you build. But as far as wetlands preservation, if you have a tougher culverts regulation, maybe we need to look into that. And that could be good for the parish. So what I would hope is that you and the administration with the Planning and Zoning Commission and our Drainage Department could look and make sure that your standards are equal, because what we don't want is somebody to use your town to get around our drainage standards. I don't think you want that either. And that's all this is about. But if there's opposition to, having drainage standards that are beneficial to the parish, but you still want the parish to come in there and do drainage work, that doesn't really mend together.
So that's a completely different topic. Like that's something that people have been dishing out and courting the whole 9 yards. Like that, it's a way around. The administration in the town of Sorrento have been doing great. We've been working together. Things have been going fantastic. Never once, not one time did anybody come to me and say, hey, I need you to look at this because I think y'all aren't doing this correctly. I mean, it's been a year now, and thing is flowing. We're getting water out of Sorrento. The town is working with the parish. The town is expending funds just like the parish is expending funds. Not one time in this entire deal has anyone come to me and say, I think y'all doing it wrong. Not one time.
Councilwoman Cazza.
What's the purpose of this discussion?
The purpose of this discussion is that the town of Sorrento, or myself as the mayor, doesn't feel that it's the parish's responsibility to govern the town.
We appreciate your opinion.
And
our opinion is that we need to have, or we'll see what our opinion is. There is no collective will that's been determined here. We will determine through this discussion whether this resolution goes forward. I personally believe that the standards should be as equal as they can possibly be. If there's something that is it's impossible for you, then we need to have that discussion with the administration and subsequently with us. But this is a discussion. The next thing is a resolution that we will vote to either ask you to have your standards the same as ours or not. I mean, I don't know what the will is here at this point.
And I understand that. And I guess constructive conversation could go a lot further than, forcing something on somebody.
And I feel like we're having constructive conversation.
Oh, I'm not saying we aren't by any means at all, because, we're sitting here talking. We done talked about multiple things tonight. But, to put it on paper instead of us sitting down and try to have an agreement is, was a little bit shocking to me, to say the least. So, all right. Thank you.
Back.
What's that?
Oh, you can go ahead, Chris. I just had a general comment. So this is the discussion. I just had a couple thoughts on this. Just hearing you talk, hearing Chris talk, is there a way, can we table the resolution till the next meeting and let's maybe request, I don't know, Clint, I don't know who would do it, Jerome, I'm not sure who would do it, but why don't we look at the differences and then present that to the different councilmen and see if there's something that we could something that needs to be sharpened or discussed further, and just go with it that way. That would be my suggestion. That's my comment for the discussion.
I second that motion.
Well, we'd have to make that on the next item.
Because this is
we have to make that on the
discussion.
next item. So we'll move on from that discussion item unless we have any further discussion on it. That's pretty good. Moving on to item G, resolution asking East Bank municipalities to refuse annexation of any property that will be developed at drainage standards lower than the standards accepted by Ascension Parish. Councilman Keglowdy, I'm sorry. So once again, this, just by way of explanation, this is just asking that we and if we're going to table it, that's fine. All this is asking that that we don't annex any property into the parish right now, that, we express our displeasure with it, is all that is. We're just expressing displeasure with annexing property into a municipality that has lower standards. Once again, this doesn't arise out of the blue. This arises out of the last council meeting where a councilman stated he was going to do this to avoid our standards, which is, quite honestly, to me, a very scary thing. We shouldn't have councilmen setting laws for one group and then trying to avoid them 15 minutes after the meeting's over. That's not a good look for this council or for anybody involved in it. So, Councilman Wagasback.
Well, I'll make one more comment on that, since I put my name down on that one also. So, a comment to that is, I would say that I'd be willing to bet that the councilman that made that statement never read our standards neither. Okay? So,
Maybe so.
For them to come out and say that they're going to annex into the town of Sorrento without reading our standards may have been, actually, it was a false statement. Okay? So that's the whole point of why I wanted to get up and talk tonight, is because I really believe, look, the councilman is my councilman. Okay? He's the councilman for the town of Sorrento, for every resident in Sorrento. But I really think if he'd read our standards, some of those comments might have never came out. But I feel also that this is a shot at him which is taking the town of Sorrento into that. And that's where I have a problem with it. Like, if y'all want to dish it, whatever y'all got out together, leave us out of it. Because we've spent tens of thousands of dollars to make sure Sorrento is the best that Sorrento could be. And if y'all want to fight amongst yourselves, go ahead. But I'm not going to expend money to dissect things that I already did. So that's where I stand with that.
Councilman Wagasback.
Yeah, I was just gonna, I think the discussion was good. I'm not sure how clear the resolution is. I somewhat agree with it, but I think there could be some further definition of it. And I'd like to make a substitute motion to defer this to the next meeting and request that we maybe have some analysis done on the codes or the wetlands and then present that.
Mr. President.
All right, so I'm gonna tread lightly. I think we should give it to municipalities. We should exchange information. We should have a conversation and encourage them, as well as see what their standards are versus ours, and work together like we have been to have overall improvement. There's 3 municipalities, each having their own regulations and own rules that they feel is important to their cities and towns. I think we set a dangerous precedent in passing a resolution. That is my personal opinion. I think we can work together and exchange a lot of information and try to accomplish the same goal. I think we can pass a resolution that states that. But I think it's interpreted by the town and by the city and the conversations I've had when these were posted on the agenda, that I think we can achieve our goal just at a different way. And so we'd like to look at that language of the resolution. Let's talk it out. Let's get with each mayor. Let's have some conversations to see what that best looks like. And then we can bring it back up for further discussion and possible action. Thank you, Chair.
That'd be good.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and just for everybody's to remember, a resolution would be an ask, not a tell like an ordinance. So it's really just a request. And I don't know, I read it earlier, but I was reading it closer once. I heard Chris say that about cessation. I can't say it right. Thank you.
Sequestration.
I didn't see that I didn't see that in the resolution itself.
Yeah, it's fine.
That part was not in the resolution, so it still would be just an ask. So, but that would be my
It was
motion.
intentionally written that way. Okay, so we have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any further discussion? Any objections? None? So moved. We table that to the next meeting. Item number 8. So move, second, first, second, third.